You play the same team as you do on Sunday, and this time you play like crap. The Blackhawks lose 5-0 to the Pittsburgh Penguins, where on Sunday you just beat them in your own barn. You go to Pittsburgh and lay a goose egg. It was terrible hockey put on by the Chicago Blackhawks today. They looked like crap. They looked like they were stuck in sand and trying to climb up a hill and couldn't do much. That's what this game was. The Hawks were flat out bad. That second period of play is what costs them this game. Where in the second period of play is where the Hawks do not even show up. It was a bad game all around. Spencer Knight didn't have it. He gave up a couple goals that he probably should have made saves on. The defense fell apart. The offense, no offense, obviously, because we get shut out 5-0 in Pittsburgh. This was bad. It was an ugly game by the Blackhawks. They didn't know. Frankly, they did look like a bunch of kids out there against a bunch of veterans. Because Pittsburgh refusal to go into rebuild, they still have Hall of Famers on the ice in Sidney Crosby, Letang, and Malkin. But the Hawks just looked bad. They weren't hitting. They weren't doing much of anything. As well, shots on goal per period, 7-11 in favor for the Penguins in the first period, 8-11 to the Penguins in the second period, 11-5 in favor for the Blackhawks in the third period. Total shots on goal, 26-27 for Pittsburgh. I get the Hawks had the shots pretty even, but it wasn't close enough. They were a bunch of one and done shots. They weren't getting into the offensive zone much at all this game. The power play, they generated some high danger chances, but they weren't able to produce. Going 0 for 2 on the power play to the Penguins going 1 for 3. Face off a little bit better than last game on Sunday against the Penguins. 43.8% at the dot for the Hawks to a 56.3% for the Penguins. Hits were 7-15 in favor for Pittsburgh. The reason why I'm emphasizing the hits today, the Hawks weren't doing anything. They didn't have. When you don't have the puck, you should be laying the body. They were not doing it. That's what this game was. They were slow, they were atrocious, and not doing much of anything for themselves to be in this game. So let's get into this. It's all Pittsburgh, so I'm going to do this pretty quick. In the first period of play, it was back and forth hockey. Hawks were generating some chances, but didn't really get them in the net. And a late penalty was called on Kevin Korchinski, and the Penguins take advantage. At 19:44 in the first period, Sidney Crosby on the power play, his 31st of the season, assisted by Raquel and Russ to make it a 1-0 game for the Penguins. They take that 1-0 lead into the second period. Where in the second period, it was the Hawks didn't even show up to play, as the Penguins controlled play all second period long. And, well, 4 minutes and 45 seconds into the second period, Erik Karlsson scores his 11th of the season, assisted by Koivunen and Russ to make it 2-0 Penguins. After that, that's the only goal in the second period, but you could tell the Hawks were not going to come back in this game. They weren't going to do much of anything because we couldn't even get the puck. They were helmed. There were two shifts where once in the first period, the Bedard line got held into the defensive zone for 2 minutes. And in the second period, the Bedard line got held into the defensive zone for 2 minutes. The Hawks had a hard time getting out of their defensive zone, and we saw it a lot in this game. And then we go into the third period down by 2. Hawks just killed off a penalty on the Penguins, and the Penguins take advantage still. Chris Letang scores his 9th of the season after the penalty was killed, assisted by Malkin and Timmins to make it 3-0 Penguins. Then 3 minutes later at 7:42 in the third period, Kevin Hayes scores his first of the night, 12th of the season, assisted by Heinen and Drewer to make it a 4-0 Penguins lead. And to add salt to the wound, at 18:13 in the third period, with Knight still in net, Kevin Hayes puts in his second of the night, 13th of the season, assisted by Heinen and Achari to make it a 5-0 final in Pittsburgh. The Hawks get a power play with about 2 minutes left in regulation time. They cycle. They don't get it in net. I'm just saying it. Tonight was probably one of the worst games I've seen this team play in a while. They've been playing good hockey lately. They haven't been getting wins for it, but they just played bad. I have to say it. I'm frustrated with how this game went because you just played this team 2 nights ago at your own barn, beating them convincingly. And then tonight, you lay a goose egg and not show up to play. That's what this game was. The Hawks played like crap. And down in the comments down below, I want to hear what your thoughts were on today's action. And thank you for watching the broadcast. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And most of all, the season's almost over.